Well, I spoke earlier by Skype with the former commanding and executive officer of 3 U.S. icebreakers, including the Polar Star, the vessel headed to Antarctica now. I asked Rear Admiral Jeffrey Garrett if he thought the Polar Star could successfully navigate where others have gotten stuck.
I think they'll be able to help very, very readily. The Polar Star is the most powerful non-nuclear icebreaker in the world. It's an older ship, but she's been extensively refurbished, has the experience and the capability to work in these ice conditions if they still need to when they get down there.
We understand it's going to take the Polar Star possibly 7 days to reach the Commonwealth Bay. From what you know, are the other 2 ships in any danger during this time?
Well, from press reports, I think both indicate they have enough fuel and food and that sort of thing. The problem with being beset in ice is that the sea ice is moving, so it's going to be moving with wind and currents. And the danger when you're close to shore like that is you could be pulled into open water and possibly go aground, and with all kinds of environmental and personnel consequences. So clearly you want to get these ships out of danger, get them back doing their jobs and on their way. And I think that's why the Australian Maritime Safety Authority called on the Polar Star to assist as she proceeds down to McMurdo Sound.
This has been a real learning experience for so many people, learning about these types of vessels. Tell me, why has the United States fleet really been given a hard time, saying that it wasn't actually up to date and it didn't meet the standards of some of the other countries' icebreaker vessel fleets?
Well, I think there's been a lot of discussion, a lot of studies by the National Academies of Science and others to look at what kind of icebreaker fleet the country needs. These are expensive ships, and it's a major investment, but clearly the United States is a country with both Arctic and Antarctic interests, long-term interests there, and needs some sort of a surface presence. With Alaska, we're one of the 5 nations with Arctic Ocean waterfront, and in the Antarctic, we've been a long-time leader in Antarctica in developing and supporting the Antarctic Treaty System and doing cutting-edge science down there and ensuring that the continent remains a conflict-free, environmentally sound science laboratory, basically. But to do that, the United States needs capabilities, and to have an icebreaker fleet of the right size is critical. And I think that discussion is going on in Congress and with others, but it takes a while to make this kind of investment.
Mm-hmm. Going back to the technical side, trying to free these other 2 vessels, what's involved in that? Is it just the mere presence of it in the water, a vessel as large as this icebreaker?
Well, an icebreaker, of course, is a ship that's got a hull form and shape that can allow it to break and move through ice efficiently. It's got lots of propulsion to give it the power to thrust through and overcome the friction. And then it's got all of its other systems, such as seawater intakes and cold weather capabilities, protected shafts and rudders that can do that. So the ship will need to get in, and basically the Polar Star will need to get in there and basically free a path for the other vessels. But of course, ice under pressure from wind, which I read is the situation they got into, is very tough. So they may have to wait for conditions to get better. But I think the Polar Star will have some satellite imagery, they'll have some weather forecasting and things like that, and they'll be able to pick a good route in or a route out to lead them out, and but they may have to wait for conditions to be right.
Rear Admiral Jeffrey Garrett, thank you so much for joining us. We'll all be watching with a lot of anticipation and excitement.
Thanks, Susan.